is when they feel safe and secure. Today's verse is Psalm 91:4. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. And so I used to think that my protection was all on my own. I think there was something I saw yesterday with Mel Robbins that talks about when something happens to you, especially a trauma or something like that, you feel like you're protecting everybody else by guarding that secret or guarding that trauma to save them from experiencing the pain you felt. And so you start pulling inward, you start withdrawing, you start guarding, you start putting up walls to protect yourself, but what you're doing is imprisoning yourself. And so one of the things with this protection is we're not supposed to be solely reliant on ourselves. God created Eve to accompany Adam so that he would have companionship. We have the church that we're supposed to have relationship and community with, husband and wife, familial units. All of that is so that you are not having to be solely dependent on yourself. So one of the questions today is, where do you need to feel God's protection today? My friend Missy and I were talking yesterday. We've both worked in churches, and I used to train the admins who came on staff is you are to protect your pastor, whoever they were the pastor for, you are to protect your pastor even from themselves. And what that means is there are well-meaning things that people do that they are not necessarily thinking of the consequences, the appearances, the things may not be bad, but they may look bad and set them up for what looks to be a moral failure, or set them up to go down a road of temptation to lead to a moral failure. Being a parent, we're constantly advising our children how to do things better. We're not necessarily trying to control them, but we're trying to give them insights on how to do things better. And especially as they get older, they have their own ways, they have their own thoughts, they have their own wills, they have their own perspective of things. And our protection may look like a prison to them when really it comes out of love. So are you trying to carry something God wants to cover? So what is it that you're carrying that God's going, I've got this? My boss, when I worked at the church, one of the things he would ask me all the time is this your battle or is this God's battle? So if I was fighting something, he would say, if it's your battle, then did you create it? If it's not something I created and it's a battle coming at me, then it's something that God has got, and it's God's battle to deal with. And that helped me keep a perspective as to what dance I wanted to do with arguing with people, with getting into confrontations with people. It's not that I'm not a non-confrontational person, because you can ask my husband, he's sitting right on the other side of this camera here. I am a toe-to-toe fighter when it comes to getting to the bottom of something. But on the other side of it, I've gotten more choosy about what I step into, because if it's not my battle, then it's God's, and he's the one that's going to win it. So how can you step into a place of spiritual refuge this week? For us right now, we're in a hotel in Steubenville, Ohio, driving back and forth to Pittsburgh every day. We're making decisions that are, heavy, life-altering decisions. It's just taking those pauses, listening between the lines. And for me, it's having a whole host of you out there that are praying for us and praying for wisdom and discernment. And I don't know if Mike feels it, but I have felt the peace through it all. Even with a bunch of chaos going on around us, I have felt the peace around it all. Have we been bored out of our mind? Have we been exhausted of just sitting in hospital rooms? Absolutely. But we know we're not in control of this situation. We know that we have a say in it. We know that we have responsibilities in it, but we're not in control. So we look for the protection that God's going to open up doors and opportunities and conversations that we need to have to provide protection for us and for our loved ones. So when we're talking about God's covering, what is it you need God to cover for you today? Where do you need to feel his protection today? And what are you carrying that you need to release and just let it go to him? Because that's truly what he's asking for. You know, I tell you all the time, my assault happened on that street that loosely, I say translates into the Sacred Heart of Christ. It didn't protect me from the act, but it protected my sanity. It protected a lot of other things in me that could have gone hard left, could have turned me into addict, could have turned me into a lot of different things that there are predispositions in my family that could have led me down that path. But there was a protection there. So the protection may not cover everything I want it to cover, but it will cover what God needs it to cover, if that makes sense. So, yeah, exactly. So if we are watching and seeking and praying with God, he's going to open up our eyes to let us see the protection, just like he did with the Israelites when he led them out of Egypt. You know, he had that cloud and fire that led them. That was a form of protection for them. It was a safety. It was a measure. It was a guiding light for them. And sometimes that's all protection is for you. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about redemption. But today, like I said, the verse was Psalm 91:4. And, you know, I just want you to hear more than anything. If you feel like you have not been protected in your life, if you feel like you're running constantly trying to find someone to make you safe and secure, God's got you. All you have to do is call out his name. He's got you. He's there. All you have to do is receive. So we will see you tomorrow, and we will talk about redemption tomorrow.